So when I heard that EA was releasing a single-player game, I was really happy. I was like, man, maybe EA is starting to get their act together. Maybe they're actually starting to give a shit about their community now. But after seeing this, I'm realizing now that EA is probably light years beyond any sense of decency or common sense at this point. And I have officially decided that even if Fallen Order is really good, I'm not going to buy it right away. I'm going to wait for GameStop editions to come out, and I'm going to buy from them instead. And I hate GameStop as much as the next guy, but I will not buy a $60 game from EA ever again. And this pretty much just cements the fact that it's a bad thing to do. If you needed any more proof that EA was not arguing in good faith during this hearing, just fucking look at this woman's face and tell me that they think what they're saying is entirely accurate and moral. It's insane.
And like the element of surprise.
Okay, so just to be absolutely clear.
What the actual hell? Loot boxes! Loot boxes all over again! One of the sleaziest, exploitative, amoral business practices to come out of the gaming industry is back in the news again. Hooray! It's just what I wanted. Going back briefly over the history of loot boxes again, it started in the year 2016 with the release of Overwatch. They existed before that, but that's when loot boxes started to get really popular, and they started to be shoved into literally anything. It quickly spiraled out of control as multiple companies were offering loot boxes in everything from soccer video games to goddamn Forza Motorsports. Because when you think fast cars, you obviously think gambling. And when you think of David Beckham, you obviously think of gambling, I guess. I don't know. You don't think about how good looking he is, I guess. Whatever. Ballooning so vastly that governments started stepping in to rightfully, albeit unfortunately, labeling those loot boxes as gambling mechanics, which they absolutely are. And fuck the gaming industry for encouraging governments to interfere with the business of video games. If the AAA industry wasn't an avaricious cesspool, there would be no need for politicians to get involved. Before we even get into the meat of this Blastcast, I would like to give you the actual, real definition of the word gambling. Gambling. The activity or practice of playing at a game of chance for money or other stakes. Also acceptable is the activity or practice of playing at a game of chance for money or other stakes. Now let's do a bit where we compare that term to loot boxes. Loot boxes, of course, are consumable virtual items filled with randomized digital items that vary in the odds of attainment. Basically, each item is ranked from least desirable to most desirable. Each item is then assigned a rate by which you have a chance of getting that item, and of course you exchange money for the chance to gain said item. The more desirable an item, the harder it is to get. Does that sound familiar by chance? Does it maybe sound like a type of gambling? I would love for an executive from EA to explain to me exactly how loot boxes don't count as gambling. Oh wait, I forgot. Some jackass executive from EA tried that. Let's take a look at that, shall we?
And we've heard a lot of evidence in this committee from Dr. David Zendel, among others, that loot boxes are closely linked to problem gambling, particularly among adolescents. Can I ask you, both companies, do you consider loot boxes to be an ethical feature of your games? Kerry?
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes. I think that was...
Whatever term you wish to apply to them, do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics. But I think it's important to look at this. So if you go to a I don't know what your version of Target is, but a store that sells a lot of toys, and you do a search for surprise toys, what you'll find is that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises. And so it's something that's been part of toys for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. We do think the way that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is actually quite ethical and quite fun, enjoyable to people.
Oh my god, you people are so pathetic. Surprise mechanics. Really? You have to be joking. You literally have to be joking. This is literally EA expecting citizens and politicians to be literally stupid. Okay, let's just go through this video bit by bit and just look at all the dumb things that are said. First things first, we don't call them loot boxes, which is a lie, isn't it? Because EA has absolutely used the term loot boxes. It's not even like I had to dig through time itself to find a recent example. Here you go, EA. Here's an example of EA calling loot boxes loot boxes. Calling loot boxes to sell their games, which apparently will not have loot boxes. But clearly EA has zero problem using the term loot box when it suits them, and would like to rebrand loot boxes as surprise mechanics when it doesn't. Which honestly makes me wonder if Fallen Order will in fact not have loot boxes, because at this point I'm pretty sure they're gonna have loot boxes, just loot boxes called surprise mechanics. EA said Anthem wouldn't have loot boxes. EA said Battlefield 5 wouldn't have loot boxes. Gee, EA, seems like before loot boxes were considered bad, you had no problem calling loot boxes fucking loot boxes. You know, because changing the name of something totally changes the way that something works. If I call a turd an ice cream cone, that turd instantly becomes delicious vanilla ice cream with hot fudge. Oh wait, no it doesn't. It's still a turd, you dense fucks. Surprise mechanics. Fucking surprise mechanics. Oh my god, fuck me. Yeah, loot boxes are surprise mechanics, EA, just like video game piracy is just a surprise discount. You even go on in the video to call loot boxes loot boxes. You literally associate your surprise mechanics with the words loot and boxes in your speech. Jesus Christ, you people are literally sick.
Okay, other than FIFA and other games that you provide, are you equally comfortable and relaxed about
For all of the games we have on the market that have a randomized content mechanic, a surprise mechanic, a loot box.
How disingenuous do you have to be to compare digital gambling to fucking Kinder Eggs and Hatchimals? EA is seriously betting this flimsy argument is going to change people's minds. It's not gambling, you idiots. It's just like Kinder Eggs and Hatchimals. Except I've not seen an example of someone going 10 grand deep into Kinder Eggs and Hatchimals. But this Reddit user who goes by the name Ken Skull did. They did spend $10,000 on microtransactions. And thought EA ought to know that he's a gambling addict and that microtransactions like loot boxes feed into his addiction. But fuck that. Loot boxes are just like Kinder Eggs, stupid. They're totally the same thing, since Kinder Eggs come attached to a separate $60 product, and you can continually buy Kinder Eggs from that product that magically appear in your house. Kinder Eggs also sometimes give you digital currency you can use to buy things. Oh wait, my bad. I'm being told by common sense that Kinder Eggs are actually nothing like goddamn loot boxes, because no shit they aren't. Excuse me, the question you were literally asked was, do you think surprise mechanics are moral and ethical, you pricks? Not if you think they're fun. No one cares if loot boxes are fun. Gambling is fun to people, doesn't mean everyone should gamble. Of course you think what you're doing is ethical, because this whole situation means two things, ultimately. You sincerely believe what you're doing is ethical, and you genuinely think there is nothing wrong with loot boxes, or you know what you're doing isn't ethical, and you are putting profits ahead of the well-being of your customers. I'll go ahead and let you guys guess which one I think it is. If you guessed option 2, you're a genius. Because if you thought they were ethical, you wouldn't have tried to rebrand them, now would you? If this wasn't a profit-based decision, you wouldn't have started fighting this in court when governments started outlawing them, would you have? You know loot boxes aren't ethical. You simply have no morals. You would rather gambling addicts buy your stupid gambling boxes rather than you actually doing the right thing and just not offering them for sale anymore. But EA doesn't want that because they make money, and morals don't matter when all you hear is ka-ching sounds. How can anyone be this tone deaf? How can any company seriously think this type of behavior will benefit them in the long term? If a cop pulls you over and finds a body in your trunk, the best course of action isn't to double down and stuff more murder victims into your Range Rover. A company that actually cared about its health would have cut the cord and ditched the controversy by now, but not games companies. Oh no, never games companies, because they've experienced near total freedom for far too long. They got caught doing something wrong, and instead of just admitting that maybe, just maybe, loot boxes could be gambling, they instead act like they're the victims, while people like Ken's Gold have to now literally avoid video games that have loot boxes because it triggers their very real, very harmful addictions. I am so sick of gaming companies acting like they're anything other than villains. For the last goddamn time, loot boxes are gambling.